Okay, well, it's two minutes after, and let's get going. Just before we get started, we are excited to be able to offer Spanish interpretation for this workshop. To access the audio channel for the Spanish interpretation, please click the interpretation button, the globe icon in the Zoom taskbar, and select Spanish to begin your interpretation. Para acceder al canal en español, haga clic en el icono del globo que aparece en la barra inferior de la pantalla y seleccione Español or Spanish. For English, please select English. Welcome, everyone. I'm Amanda Hansen, Deputy Secretary for Climate Change at the California Natural Resources Agency. Thank you for joining us today to provide input on the annual implementation reporting process for the California's Climate Adaptation Strategy. The Natural Resources Agency is tasked with coordinating updates to this strategy every 3 years. The 2021 update was released in the spring of this year and was co-coordinated with the Governor's Office of Planning and Research and in partnership with agencies across the administration. And I'm joined today by my partner at the Governor's Office of Planning and Research, Sloan Viola. Sloan?
Thanks, Amanda. And hello, everyone. Welcome to the California Climate Adaptation Strategy's Annual Implementation Reporting Workshop. I'm Sloan Viola, Council Program Manager for the Governor's Office of Planning and Research. We are charged with administering the Integrated Climate Adaptation and Resiliency Program, which coordinates the state's adaptation actions. As Amanda mentioned, we are looking forward to hearing your perspectives on the adaptation strategy's implementation and its reporting process. Before we get started, I'm going to provide a brief overview of the Zoom features we will be using today. As you may have noticed, we are recording today's workshop. We will post the presentation portion on our website, and the breakout room discussions will be recorded solely for note-taking purposes. Next, if you would like to access auto-generated captions for the presentation, please click on the CC Live transcript icon in the Zoom taskbar. Here we have a brief overview of today's agenda. We will give a brief, high-level presentation on the strategy progress reporting, but we'll spend the majority of our time together hearing from you. If you're joining us today, you may already be familiar with California's Climate Adaptation Strategy. But for a refresher or for new participants, each strategy's tri-annual update builds on the successes and lessons learned from the previous one, and the updated 2021 strategy released in April was no different. Our approach was based on extensive public outreach and close partnerships with state agencies. The strategy links together the state's existing, planned, and resourced climate adaptation efforts, showing how they fit together to achieve broad climate resilience priorities. The strategy also specifies needed actions with timetables and metrics to drive progress and enable accountability. The strategy is organized around outcome-based priorities rather than individual sectors, enabling a coordinated, integrated approach to building climate resilience. This approach recognizes how climate adaptation is implemented on the ground and reflects our commitment to integrating climate resilience into the work of all state agencies. The 2021 strategy was released as an interactive website that serves as a hub for state climate resilience action. This website will be updated to reflect progress and make adjustments, and will allow for Californians to easily access information on our efforts. To build a whole-of-government approach to climate adaptation, we structured the climate adaptation strategy around 6 co-equal priorities that enable us to draw connections among our collected efforts. These priorities provide strategic direction by guiding the state's policies, programs, and investments. These priorities were refined through a robust public engagement process held last summer. Here's an example of how each priority is supported by goals, actions, and success metrics included in the draft strategy. On the screen, you see the priority to strengthen protections for climate vulnerable communities. In the strategy, this priority includes 3 goals. The one we're showing here is engage with and build capacity in climate vulnerable communities, which includes an action to support technical assistance to make climate smart agricultural knowledge and incentives available to socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers in disadvantaged communities. In this case, the success metric is at least 25% of technical assistance consultations are made with socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers through the Climate Smart Agriculture Technical Assistance Grant Program. Each success metric includes a timeframe, relevant agencies, and links to more detail. And that does it for our overview and context setting for the strategy itself. Now, Amanda will discuss the next phase we are entering, annual reporting on implementation progress.
Thanks, Sloan. So, as mentioned, the state is required to report annually on implementation progress of our adaptation strategy. In addition to supporting transparency and accountability, annual reporting also enables us to share progress, identify successes, best practices, implementation gaps, and near-term priorities. Next slide. The implementation reporting that we have been thinking about as a team internal to the state consists of 2 key components: an implementation report and updates to the strategy website. We are here to get your input on what would be most useful to include in both of the elements of this reporting. For example, the implementation report, we have been thinking could usefully provide a brief high-level summary of implementation progress, highlight best practices, lessons learned, and identify areas for future focus. More comprehensive updates will be available through the strategy website, where we will track and report progress on the strategy's success metrics through the website's interactive structure. Next slide. That structure is intended to allow us to show levels of progress for success metrics inside of our strategy. So we are also seeking your input today on a set of progress indicators that we have developed to identify the stages of progress toward achieving the success metrics within the strategy. These progress indicators are listed on the slide, and I will read them out loud as well. Scoping and organizing action, collecting input and conducting community engagement, to securing funding, beginning the project work, to work underway and documentation and reporting is in progress, to work is nearing completion, to work is complete, and we are shifting to ongoing maintenance, monitoring, assessment. Another phase is ongoing advancements, continual improvements. Our goal for these proposed indicators is to be flexible enough to apply to various kinds of efforts. Some metrics in the strategy have a clear trajectory toward a completed project, while others reflect processes that require ongoing and sustained focus with continual improvement. Later in the session, we'll be specifically asking for your feedback on these indicators, and you'll have the opportunity to suggest adjustments. Next slide. This fall, we are conducting stakeholder engagement workshops. The first series of workshops, which is this workshop, is focused on learning public priorities for implementation reporting. This will inform the structure of the report that we will deliver later this year to ensure that it communicates progress effectively and in a way that is useful to all of you. The second series of workshops will focus on your feedback related to what you have seen implemented successfully from our state adaptation strategy and where near-term priorities of the strategy could better align with your needs or priorities. We have released a public survey that asks the same questions in the workshop series so that anyone who is unable to participate has an equal opportunity to provide feedback at their convenience. And the survey will close on October 21st. Next slide. As we noted, the focus of today's workshop is getting your feedback on how we can make the implementation reporting useful to you. And we'd love to hear whether the proposed progress indicators are useful and understood, and how the implementation report and website updates can communicate details you would like to know. And I'm going to hand it back over to Sloan, who will walk through today's approach to answering these questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. We'll be using the Zoom breakout room feature to gather your input. You will have the choice to join one or more of the 2 breakout rooms. If you wish to provide your input in Spanish, please stay here in the plenary room. The breakout rooms correspond to the numbers and themes listed on this slide. We've prepared discussion questions, but also welcome any other feedback you might have on the annual reporting. If you want to provide general feedback, please feel free to go into any room and just let the facilitator know. You are able to move about the breakout rooms freely to provide input on the themes in which you are interested. To provide your comment within the breakout room, please raise your hand, or you are welcome to share your comments in the chat. We respectfully request that you stay under 3 minutes in the first comment that you make in order to give everyone who'd like to comment verbally the same time and space to do so. Once you are finished providing feedback, you may leave the workshop. We will not be reconvening as a large group, so once you have said all that you wish to say and heard all that you wish to hear, you are more than welcome to leave and you will not be missing out on any final announcements from us. If you are unable to provide full comments today or wish to follow up with additional feedback, we have a survey available to provide written comment. Additionally, please feel free to send the survey to any interested colleagues who are unable to join these workshops. The survey is accessible via the Adaptation Strategy website and will be available until close of business on Friday, October 21st. We will also drop the link in the chat now. Thank you for your time today, and we look forward to hearing from you in the breakout rooms and via the survey. And here are our questions to guide the discussion in the breakout rooms. Room 1 will focus on the content of the annual report. Room 2 will focus on the utility and application of the annual report. We will have these questions posted in the chat and in the breakout rooms, so don't worry about getting these questions written down now. And with that, we will turn on the breakout rooms and begin our listening session. Thank you for joining us.